Welcome to night, where the past unfolds in soft whispers and every story guides your mind gently towards rest, peace, and deep sleep. Close your eyes, slow your breathing, and let tonight's journey through history carry you into a calmer world, far away from noise, closer to dreams. The journey begins not with a sudden departure, but with a slow, deliberate drifting away. Imagine for a moment that you have left the noises of the modern world far behind you. The demands of the day, the glowing screens, the constant hum of the city. All of it has faded into the distance, shrinking in the rearview mirror until it is nothing more than a memory. You are seated comfortably behind the wheel of a vintage car, a sleek, heavy machine from the late 1940s. It is the kind of vehicle built with intention, a cocoon of polished walnut dashboard, chrome dials, and the rich, earthy scent of worn leather seats that embrace you like an old friend. The engine does not roar, it hums, a low, steady vibration that resonates through the floorboards, grounding you, offering a rhythmic lullaby as you navigate the winding roads of the deep American countryside. It is late autumn, the time of year when the world seems to take a deep breath and hold it. The sun has already dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky the color of bruised plums and charcoal. There is just enough light to see the outline of the world, but the details are softening, blurring into the comfort of the coming night. And it is raining. It is a steady, purposeful rain, not a storm, but a washing away. You watch the windshield wipers sweep back and forth in a hypnotic rhythm. Swish, click, swish, click. The sound is a metronome for your breathing. With every sweep of the glass, the view ahead becomes clear for a fleeting second before the water beads up again, distorting the headlights into streaks of liquid gold. The rain drums against the metal roof of the car, 1,000 tiny fingers tapping out a song of solitude. It wraps the car in a layer of sound, sealing you inside this warm, moving sanctuary. You are traveling along the old carriage road. This is a route forgotten by maps and ignored by the highways that slice through the state. Here, the asphalt is narrow and cracked, lined on both sides by ancient stone walls that have stood since the Revolution. These walls are covered in damp moss, glowing faintly green in the wash of your headlights. Beyond the walls rise the trees, towering maples, oaks, and birch. Their branches, mostly bare now, reach over the road like the arches of a cathedral ceiling. A few stubborn leaves still cling to the timber, flashes of russet and burnt orange caught in the beam of your lights, spiraling down slowly to meet the wet pavement. As you drive deeper into the valley, you begin to feel the presence of Willow Creek. You cannot see the water clearly yet, but you can sense it. The air growing cooler, heavier, carrying the scent of damp earth, wet pine needles, and the mineral tang of a flowing river. Then, the mist begins to rise. It starts as thin wisps, ghost-like tendrils curl around the tires of the car. It rolls off the unseen creek to your left, a blanket of white vapor that softens the edges of the road. The headlights cut through it, creating tunnels of light in the grey fog. It feels as though you are driving through clouds, floating rather than rolling. The isolation is complete now. There are no other cars, no streetlights, just the tunnel of trees, the stone walls, and the mist that hugs the ground, guarding the secrets of the valley. The car moves effortlessly, the suspension absorbing every bump in the road, rocking you gently. You feel your shoulders drop. You feel your jaw unclench. There is nowhere else you need to be. There is no urgency here on the old carriage road. Time seems to stretch out, becoming elastic and slow. The speedometer needle holds steady, a glowing amber line in the dim cabin. Up ahead, the road curves sharply to the right, following the bend of the creek. Through a break in the trees, you catch a glimpse of the water, a dark, glassy ribbon reflecting the little moonlight that manages to pierce the clouds. The rain ripples the surface, creating endless, expanding circles that disappear into the current. And then you see it. Rising from the mist like a memory manifested in stone, the silhouette of the manor appears. The silent manor of Willow Creek. It stands atop a gentle rise, commanding the landscape yet resting in harmony with it. It is a Victorian masterpiece, a sprawling structure of dark brick and slate. In the twilight, it looks like a fortress of solitude. You can make out the sharp peaks of the gables, the round turret that looks out over the valley, and the tall, narrow chimneys reaching up into the rainy sky. The house is dark, save for a single warm light glowing in what must be the foyer, a beacon guiding you home. It does not look imposing or frightening. Rather, it looks patient. It looks like a place that has been waiting specifically for you, holding its breath for decades, waiting for the sound of your engine to break the silence. You slow the car, turning the heavy steering wheel to guide the vehicle between two massive iron gates. They stand open, the metalwork intricate and twisted into the shapes of vines and roses, rusted by time into a deep autumnal red. The tires leave the pavement and meet the gravel driveway. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The sound changes immediately. The hum of the asphalt is replaced by the satisfying textural sound of gravel shifting under rubber. The drive is long and lined with weeping willows, their long leafless branches swaying gently in the wind, brushing the tops of the tall grass. They look like guardians, bowing their heads as you pass. The manor looms larger now as you approach. You can see the details of the architecture, the wraparound porch with its wooden railing, the intricate gingerbread trim along the eaves, the heavy oak double doors that serve as the mouth of the house. The rain seems to intensify as you pull up to the front, as if the sky is urging you to go inside, to seek shelter, to find warmth. You bring the car to a halt at the base of the wide stone steps. You shift the gear into park and turn the key. The engine dies. The silence that follows is profound. It is not an empty silence, but a heavy velvet silence. The vibration of the engine is gone, leaving only the sound of nature. The rain sounds louder now, pattering against the hood of the car, pinging against the cooling metal. You sit there for a moment, hands still resting on the leather wheel, listening. You take a breath. The air inside the car is warm, but you know the air outside will be brisk and invigorating. You are alone here, miles away from the nearest town, miles away from the nearest worry. The manor stands before you, a grand puzzle box of history and shadow wrapped in the mist of the creek. Slowly, you reach for the door handle. The latch clicks, a sharp mechanical sound in the quiet night. You push the door open and step out. The cool air hits your face instantly, smelling of rain-soaked leaves and distant wood smoke. You pull your coat tighter around yourself, feeling the dampness of the mist cling to your clothes. The gravel crunches softly under your boots. You look up at the house, the rain tapping against the brim of your hat or landing softly on your hair. The single light in the foyer window flickers slightly as if acknowledging your arrival. The house is ready. The modern world is gone. There is only the rain, the mist, and the silent, waiting mystery of Willow Creek. You walk toward the stairs, leaving the vintage car behind, its engine ticking softly as it cools. You ascend the stone steps, one by one, moving out of the storm and toward the shelter of the heavy oak doors. The journey is over. The story is about to begin. You stand before the heavy oak doors, the rain still tapping a gentle rhythm against your shoulders, a soft contrast to the profound stillness radiating from the wood in front of you. The doors are massive, carved from timbers that must have grown in these forests centuries ago, dark and solid as iron. Under your hand, the brass handle feels cool and smooth, worn down by the touch of generations who have stood exactly where you are standing now, seeking shelter, seeking rest. You press down on the latch. The mechanism engages with a satisfying heavy click, a sound of precision and quality. With a gentle push, the great door swings inward. It moves silently on well-oiled hinges, gliding open to reveal the heart of the manor. You step across the threshold. The moment you cross from the damp, chill air of the night into the interior, the atmosphere shifts entirely. You gently push the door closed behind you, shutting out the wind, shutting out the rain, shutting out the world. The latch clicks into place, sealing the manor. The sound of the storm is instantly muffled, reduced to a distant, comforting hum, like a memory of weather rather than the weather itself. You are inside. The first thing that greets you is the scent. It is a fragrance so distinct, so evocative, that it feels like stepping into a storybook. It is a warm, complex bouquet that wraps around you like a cashmere blanket. You breathe it in deep. There is the rich, golden smell of beeswax, sweet and earthy, rising from the polished floorboards that stretch out beneath your feet. It is the scent of care, of wood that has been tended to and preserved. Beneath that, there is the dry, vanilla-like aroma of old parchment and bound books, drifting in from rooms yet unseen, whispering of history and written words. And finally, threading through it all, is a faint floral note of dried lavender. It hangs in the air, delicate and clean, suggesting linens folded away in cedar chests and potpourri bowls resting on hallway tables. It is not a musty smell. It is the smell of time preserved in amber. It smells like safety. You take a moment just to stand there, letting your eyes adjust to the dim golden light. You are in the ground foyer. It is a cavernous space, soaring upwards into the shadows. Above you, a crystal chandelier hangs suspended like a frozen constellation. It is not lit, yet it seems to catch the ambient light from somewhere. Perhaps the moon breaking through the clouds outside, casting pale silvery beams through the high transom window above the door. The light in the room is soft, diffused, and dreamlike. It illuminates the air itself, revealing millions of tiny dust motes dancing in the stillness. They float effortlessly, swirling in slow, lazy spirals, catching the faint light and turning into microscopic stars. They seem to be performing a silent waltz, undisturbed by the currents of time. Watching them is hypnotic. They rise and fall, drifting with a purpose known only to the house itself. As your eyes trace the room, you take in the grandeur of the architecture. To your left and right, dark wood paneling covers the walls, intricate and smooth. A grand staircase sweeps upward in a graceful curve, the banister gleaming with that same beeswax polish. It disappears into the darkness of the second floor, inviting but not demanding. The house is silent, yet it feels intensely alive. It is not the empty silence of an abandoned place. It is the companionable silence of a library or a sleeping cathedral. It is a silence that listens. You feel a profound sense of welcome here. There is no unease, no shadow of fear in the corners. Instead, the manor feels like a guardian that has opened its arms to you. It feels as though the house has been holding its breath, waiting for you to arrive so it can finally exhale. And then, you hear it. It is a sound so steady, so rhythmic, that it takes a moment to distinguish it from the beating of your own heart. Tick, tock, tick, tock. The sound comes from the far corner of the foyer, standing tall against the panelled wall. It is a grandfather clock, a towering sentinel of mahogany and brass. It is a masterpiece of craftsmanship, its face pale as the moon, with elegant black hands that have been circling the dial for 100 years or more. The rhythm is slow, incredibly slow. It is slower than the frantic pace of the modern world you left behind. This clock does not mark the passing of seconds in a rush. It measures moments. Each swing of the pendulum is a deliberate act. Tick, pause, tock. The sound resonates through the wood of the floor, traveling up through the soles of your boots. It is a grounding vibration. It tells you that here, in Willow Creek, time works differently. There is no rush. There is no deadline. There is only the steady, comforting march of the present moment. The sound is a lullaby, a metronome for relaxation. You find your breathing slowing down to match it. In, tick, out, tock. You begin to unbutton your coat. The heavy wool is damp with rain, and shedding it feels like shedding a layer of stress. You slide it off your shoulders, the weight lifting away. You hang it on a sturdy brass hook on a coat stand near the door. Next to it, you place your hat. You are no longer a traveler braving the elements. You are a guest, safe within the sanctuary. You walk further into the center of the foyer, your boots making a hollow, satisfying sound on the Persian rug that anchors the space. The rug is thick and soft, woven in deep reds and indigos that have faded beautifully with age. In the center of the room stands a round entry table made of dark cherry wood. On it sits a porcelain bowl filled with dried rose petals and lavender buds, the source of that gentle floral scent. Beside the bowl is a small silver tray waiting for your keys. You place them there. The metal chimes softly against the silver, a final note signaling the end of your drive. You look around once more. The shadows in the corners are soft and plush, not sharp. The portraits hanging on the walls are obscured by the dim light, but you get the impression of kind faces watching over the hall. The house feels settled around you. It wraps you in its solitude. The rain outside taps against the high windows, but it sounds miles away now. Here, there is only the warmth of the wood, the scent of lavender and wax, the dancing dust motes, and the heartbeat of the clock. Tick, tock. You feel a heaviness in your eyelids, a pleasant lethargy spreading through your limbs. The drive was long, and the peace of this place is seductive. But there is more to see. To your left, a hallway stretches out, leading toward the west wing. You can see the faint outline of a gallery, frames lined up along the wall, waiting to share their stories. A gentle curiosity stirs within you, not a burning need to know, but a soft desire to wander. The clock chimes the quarter hour, a deep, resonant hum that vibrates in your chest, gentle as a hummed tune. It is an invitation. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the ancient, comforting air of the manor. You are safe. You are warm, and the night is yours to explore, slowly, quietly, at the pace of the pendulum. You turn toward the hallway, your steps soft on the rug, moving deeper into the mystery of the silent manor. The steady tick-tock of the grandfather clock fades gently behind you as you move from the grand expanse of the foyer into the narrower yet equally inviting hallway that leads to the west wing. Each step you take is soft, almost muffled by the thick, patterned runners that stretch the length of the corridor. The air here is a touch cooler, carrying with it a different nuance of scent. Less of beeswax, more of dry wood, and the faint, sweet smell of aged canvas, hinting at the purpose of the rooms ahead. The hallway is lined with dark, polished wood, broken only by archways and the occasional alcove where small, intricately carved side tables stand. On these tables you notice delicate porcelain vases, empty now, but perhaps once filled with flowers from the manor's sprawling gardens. The dim light that filters into this passage seems to be drawn from the large windows at its far end, which look out onto the dark, rain-swept gardens you glimpsed earlier. As you walk, your gaze drifts over the walls. They are adorned with framed prints and smaller oil paintings, mostly landscapes of the surrounding countryside. Rolling hills shrouded in mist, the winding Willow Creek, and distant snow-capped peaks. There are no sudden surprises here, just quiet beauty, inviting peaceful contemplation. The art is an extension of the manor's serene soul, a visual whisper of its history. The hallway gently inclines, leading you upwards almost imperceptibly, as if the house itself is lifting you toward a new perspective. You pass several closed doors, their dark wood gleaming, each one a silent promise of rooms waiting to be discovered. But for now, they hold their secrets. Finally, the hallway opens into a much larger space, the West Wing Gallery. This room is clearly designed for display. The walls are not paneled, but covered in a rich, deep forest green wallpaper, embossed with a subtle floral pattern that catches the scant light. The ceiling is higher here, reaching up to intricate plasterwork that frames the room like a delicate lace collar. Unlike the foyer, where the light was golden and diffused, the gallery is bathed in a softer, more ethereal glow. It seems to emanate from the tall, arched windows that line one side of the room. Through them, you can see the faint, silvery light of the moon, which has momentarily broken through the clouds, casting long, shifting shadows across the polished floorboards. The rain still patters gently against the glass, creating a soothing white noise, a constant, comforting background to the quiet of the house. The light from the moonbeams dances with the dust motes here too, but they seem to be performing a different dance, a slow, reverent ballet around the centerpiece of the room. And that centerpiece is a portrait. It hangs alone on the far wall, perfectly centered, commanding attention without demanding it. It is a large painting, enclosed in an ornate, heavy gold frame that glows faintly even in the dim light. You approach it slowly, your footsteps soft on the thick rug beneath your feet. As you draw closer, the details of the portrait begin to emerge, like a memory surfacing from the depths. It is a depiction of a woman, clearly the original owner of this magnificent manor. Her presence on the canvas is both elegant and enigmatic. She is dressed in a gown of deep emerald velvet, a popular shade from the late 19th or early 20th century. Perhaps the very early 1900s, given the cut of the dress and the style of her hair. Her dark hair is swept up elegantly, adorned with a single delicate pearl comb that catches the light. Her skin is fair, her lips a soft rose, and her eyes, a striking shade of blue-grey, gaze directly out of the canvas, meeting yours with a quiet intensity. There is a hint of a gentle smile playing on her lips, a kindness in her expression that immediately puts you at ease. She looks like a woman who held a deep appreciation for beauty and quiet contemplation. You stand there for a long moment, simply absorbing her presence, feeling a connection across the decades. This isn't just a painting, it's a silent conversation with history. As your eyes gently drift across the details of the portrait, something catches your attention. It's a small, subtle element, easily overlooked, yet once seen, it draws you in, sparking a quiet curiosity. Around her neck, almost hidden by the high collar of her velvet gown, she wears a delicate silver chain, and from this chain hangs a locket. It is a small, oval locket, intricate in its design, with a faint pattern of intertwining vines etched onto its surface. But it is not the locket itself that truly captures your gaze. It is the way her hand rests. Her left hand is poised gracefully at her waist, holding a single vibrant bloom, a deep crimson rose, still dew-kissed even in the painting. But her right hand, resting gently against her chest, is subtly, almost imperceptibly, touching the locket. Her thumb grazes its surface, as if she is protecting it, or perhaps drawing comfort from its presence. The gesture is quiet, intimate. It suggests a secret. Not a dramatic, thrilling secret, but a personal, cherished one. A lost love, perhaps. A whispered promise. Or even a hidden message. You lean a little closer, admiring the artist's skill, the way the moonlight seems to gleam off the silver of the locket, drawing your attention to it. The locket itself doesn't appear to be open, but her touch on it is so tender. This isn't a heart-pounding mystery. It's a gentle invitation. It's a soft whisper from the past, stirring a feeling of wonder. What story does that locket hold? Who was it for? And why is it so significant that it was captured in her formal portrait? You notice other small details in the painting. In the background, partially obscured by shadow, is a window looking out onto a moonlit garden, similar to the one you can imagine outside these very walls. In the distance, you can just make out the dark, flowing ribbon of Willow Creek. The manor, it seems, always had a deep connection to its surroundings. The silence of the gallery is punctuated only by the distant rain and the soft, steady rhythm of your own breathing. The air is still, carrying that faint scent of aged canvas. You feel no urgency, only a peaceful curiosity. This locket, this small, tender gesture, is a thread that connects you to the silent history of the manor. You imagine her, this elegant woman, living within these very walls. What were her days like? What were her joys, her quiet sorrows? And what did that locket mean to her? The moonbeam shifts slightly, and for a moment, the locket seems to glow with its own faint light, a beacon in the quiet darkness of the gallery. It's a subtle pull, drawing you gently into the manor's story. You don't need to rush. The house will reveal its secrets at its own pace, a slow, unfolding narrative designed to soothe and intrigue. You feel a soft sigh escape you, a release of any lingering tension. The mystery of Willow Creek is not about solving a crime, but about uncovering a forgotten beauty, a quiet truth. The locket is simply a beginning. It's a warm invitation to learn more about the woman in the portrait, to understand the gentle heart that still beats within these old walls. You stand there, letting the image imprint itself on your mind. The serene face, the emerald gown, the crimson rose, and the tender touch upon the silver locket. The quiet hum of curiosity now mingles with a profound sense of peace. You feel ready to explore further, not with a sense of searching, but with a sense of listening. The house is ready to tell its story. You leave the quiet majesty of the West Wing Gallery, carrying the subtle, lingering impression of the woman in the emerald gown and the mystery of her silver locket. Your steps are unhurried, guided by a soft curiosity rather than a frantic search. The house feels patient. It invites you to wander, not to rush. The hallway stretches ahead, and you turn a corner, moving toward the core of the manor. The air shifts here, becoming noticeably warmer and drier, drawing you onward. This is the scent of deep scholarship and old, comfortable contemplation, the unmistakable, intoxicating fragrance of a vast, private library. You enter the room and stop, letting the atmosphere wash over you. If the foyer was the manor's beating heart, this space is its profound memory. The library is a magnificent, comforting cavern. Floor-to-ceiling shelves line every wall, packed tightly with thousands of leather-bound volumes that look as though they have stood sentinel for centuries. The books are stacked in glorious, haphazard arrangements, their spines ranging in color from faded burgundy and moss green to deep midnight blue. The scent here is a blend of dried vanilla, the faint mustiness of old paper, and the sweet, comforting aroma of tanned leather. It is a place built for deep thought and quiet retreat. In the center of the far wall, a wide fireplace dominates the space. Though the fire is not roaring, a careful arrangement of logs holds a low, steady bed of orange and crimson embers. The warmth radiating from this glowing hearth is immediate and deep, a physical welcome after the cool air of the gallery. The fire breathes softly, creating a hushed rhythmic sound, a faint crackle, hiss and glow that immediately encourages relaxation. Arranged before the fire is a pair of deep wingback armchairs, upholstered in a plush dark velvet. They look utterly irresistible, beckoning you to sink into their soft, generous embrace. Between them sits a small, round mahogany table, perfectly positioned for a cup of tea or a forgotten book. The room is dark, lit primarily by the low light of the embers and a single, large bay window that frames the night. The rain continues its steady work outside, blurring the view of the grounds into impressionistic washes of grey and silver. The sound of the falling water against the glass becomes a seamless part of the library's quiet orchestration. You walk slowly toward the center of the room, running your fingers gently along the back of a leather-bound history text. The spines are dry, cool, and smooth beneath your touch. You notice a rolling ladder tucked into a corner, its brass fittings gleaming softly, suggesting that even the highest, dustiest secrets of the shelves are still accessible. Your eyes are drawn to a massive, imposing desk placed near the fire, the centerpiece of the room's function. It is a heavy, ornate piece of furniture, covered in dark, highly polished mahogany. On its surface, there is no clutter, only an inkwell, a blotter, and a large leather-bound ledger. As you approach the desk, you see a small rectangular wooden box resting near the edge. It is simple, made of cedar and worn smooth by time and handling. There is no lock, only a slightly tarnished brass clasp. It is this object, rather than the vast shelves of knowledge, that quietly demands your attention. You reach out and gently lift the lid of the cedar box. Inside, resting on a bed of old faded velvet, is a bundle of letters. They are tied together with a ribbon of silk, which must have once been a brilliant crimson, but time has softened it to a delicate, dusty rose, the exact shade of the rose held by the woman in the portrait. The ribbon is fragile, and the knot is old. You carefully lift the bundle from the box, placing it gently on the desk blotter. The paper is thick and brittle, yellowed with age, and the handwriting is immediately striking. Elegant, flowing, and deeply expressive, written in ink that has faded to a soft sepia tone. You recognize the delicate aristocratic script as being that of the manor's owner, the woman whose image hangs silently in the gallery. You slide the ribbon off the top letter, the silk feeling like a feather against your skin. The letter is undated, but carries the tone of a time long past, perhaps from the late 1890s, when the world was larger and letters were a lifeline. You hold the paper carefully, letting your eyes drift over the graceful loops of the handwriting. The content of the letter immediately shifts the atmosphere of the room. It is not a secret of fear or malice, but a quiet, profound story of absence and devotion. The letters are addressed to an unnamed recipient, simply referred to as "my dearest A," and they speak of longing, of counting the days, and of the unique solitude of Willow Creek. The rain falls here with a particular sadness, my dearest A, as if the skies too are waiting for your vessel to crest the horizon. The silence of the manor is less a comfort and more a profound echo of your absence. I walk the perimeter of the garden each evening, clutching the silver talisman you left me, your promise sealed by the sea. It is the only thing that keeps me tethered to the hope of your return. You pause, letting the image of the woman in the portrait, Eleanor, sink into your consciousness. The silver talisman is the locket. The profound echo of your absence explains the manor's perpetual silence. It is not an emptiness, but a state of waiting, a holding of breath that has lasted a century. You continue reading a few lines from a subsequent letter. The willow trees near the creek are shedding their gold now. I wonder if the autumn in your hemisphere is as melancholy and beautiful as it is here. I have commissioned the portrait. I wish the artist could have captured the worry in my eyes, but I insisted he focus only on the faith I hold. My hand rests upon the locket always, a reminder that my heart journeys with you. The narrative unfolds slowly, letter by letter, detailing a romance interrupted by a long voyage. A sailor, an explorer, or a businessman called away across continents. The letters describe the quiet beauty of the manor, the peaceful sound of the creek, and the agonizing slowness of time when spent apart from the one you love. Eleanor found solace in the house, pouring her devotion onto these pages, writing to bridge the vast distance. You notice the last few letters in the stack are unfinished. The final one, started with the usual salutation, trails off after only a few lines, the ink suddenly stopping mid-sentence, leaving an ellipsis of silence on the page. The winter is coming early this year. The snow has begun to fall, soft as doves on the glass. I pray that this missive reaches you, for I have had the strangest feeling, a lightness in the air, as if a great weight has lifted. I feel that soon, my dearest A, soon you will be. And then, nothing. The story halts. The silence of the manor, once a mystery, is now understood. It is the silence of an answer never received, a conversation never finished, a waiting that became permanent. You carefully place the letters back into the cedar box, your fingers lingering on the fragile silk ribbon. The mystery is not one of fear, but of profound, tender loss. The manor is not haunted by ghosts, but by a quiet, eternal love story. You sink into one of the velvet armchairs by the fire, letting the warmth soak into your clothes. You are now a part of the manor's history, a keeper of Eleanor's unfinished promise. The embers glow, the rain whispers, and the solitude of the library wraps you in a deep, soothing calm. The silence here is no longer empty. It is full of the resonance of Eleanor's unwavering heart, inviting you to rest in the warmth of her memory. You rise slowly from the deep velvet armchair in the library, feeling profoundly rested, yet gently propelled by the new layer of knowledge you carry. The warmth of the embers lingers on your skin, but the whisper of the letters, Eleanor's unwavering devotion, and her unfinished sentence invites you to seek out the natural world she loved and wrote about. Leaving the library, you follow a short corridor that leads unexpectedly to a large glass-enclosed space, the conservatory, or as Eleanor called it in her letters, the night garden. The air here changes again. It is cooler and humid, carrying the deep, clean scent of wet earth, moss, and foliage. The entire room is a marvel of Victorian engineering, a skeletal frame of black wrought iron and countless panes of glass that reach up toward the night sky. The rain, which had been a distant murmur in the library, becomes an intimate presence here. It is amplified by the glass roof, drumming a constant hypnotic percussion that creates a beautiful, all-encompassing shh sound. This is the soundtrack of deep rest, a natural, soothing white noise that muffles all other thought. The conservatory is not neatly manicured. It is an overgrown sanctuary. Vines of ivy climb the ironwork, and enormous exotic ferns fan out into the space, their fronds glistening with moisture. The earth underfoot is covered with dark, smooth flagstones, now slick with dampness. You move slowly through the room, your eyes drawn upward. The clouds have parted significantly, and the moon, now high and bright, pours its silvery light down through the glass ceiling. The light is cool and pale, illuminating the garden in shades of charcoal and silver, turning the damp foliage into a mosaic of shimmering shadows. As you reach the far end of the conservatory, you find a set of narrow glass doors that lead directly outside onto a veranda. These doors are unlocked. You slide them open gently, allowing the true, brisk air of the night garden to flow in. The scent intensifies. Fresh pine, the damp, earthy aroma of decaying leaves, and the sweet, almost intoxicating smell of something green and hidden. You step out onto the smooth, wet stone of the veranda. The house is behind you, its great, dark mass a comforting shield. Ahead of you lies the garden. It is vast and deeply private. The paths are lined with hedges that have grown tall and shaggy over the decades, creating secluded rooms within the landscape. The rain has stopped now, leaving only the sound of water dripping from the leaves and the quiet sighing of the wind through the remaining foliage. You walk down the shallow steps and onto a gravel path. The soft crunch under your boots, marking your presence in this silent, waiting space. You are drawn toward the most prominent feature in the darkness, the immense, weeping willows that give the creek and the manor their name. The willows stand near the edge of the grounds, their long, sweeping branches trailing down to the ground like sorrowful curtains swaying gently in the unseen breeze. They look like gentle, brooding figures, guardians of the valley. As you near the willows, the sound of Willow Creek becomes clear. It is a constant, flowing murmur, a low, rhythmic hush-hush of water moving over stones. You follow the path to the creek's edge. The banks are muddy and lined with smooth, dark riverstones. The water itself, reflecting the moonlight, looks like black silk, flowing steadily onward, indifferent to the manor's history, yet intrinsically tied to it. You realize that this spot, near the creek and beneath the willows, is likely the very place Eleanor wrote about. The place where she walked every evening, clutching the silver locket. It feels like the heart of her solitude. You find a weathered stone bench tucked into a small sheltered alcove formed by the willow branches. The stone is cold beneath your hand, but you sit down, feeling the peaceful weight of the historical moment. As you sit, letting the deep calm of the night garden settle around you, your gaze falls on a specific group of bushes near the bench. They are overgrown rose bushes, wild, thorny and neglected, but still stubbornly holding on to their life. And despite the late season and the darkness, you notice a single bloom, sheltered deep within the tangle of branches. It is a rose of a deep, velvety crimson, the exact vibrant shade painted in Eleanor's portrait. This is the link. The rose was a symbol, a specific detail connecting the portrait, the locket, the letters, her unwavering faith, and the physical space of the garden. You carefully reach through the damp foliage, mindful of the thorns, until your fingers gently brush the soft petals of the rose. It is cold and heavy with rainwater, but it holds a clean, powerful scent, the scent of pure late autumn devotion. Suddenly, something else catches your eye, nestled in the stones at the base of the rosebush, half covered by damp moss and willow roots. It is small, almost perfectly hidden, and metallic. You reach down and gently brush away the moss, revealing a smooth, dark object. It is a small, tarnished key. It is not a grand, elaborate key, but a simple, old-fashioned, square-headed key, dark bronze now, with a faint, almost invisible patina of green from the damp earth. It is exactly the size that would fit into a small, delicate lock. Perhaps the lock of the cedar box in the library, or perhaps the lock of a secret place. The key feels heavy and cold in your palm. It is the physical object that finalizes the connection. The woman, the letters, the garden, the locket, and now the key. It is the quiet answer to Eleanor's silent waiting. The garden is no longer just a beautiful, peaceful place. It is a reliquary, holding the final piece of her story. The sound of the creek flows on, its soft hush now seeming to urge you back inside, back to the light, where this tangible clue can complete the narrative. You stand up, your heart not racing, but full of a serene purpose. You tuck the key safely into your pocket, feeling the comforting weight of the cool metal. You take one last deep breath of the damp, beautiful night air, letting the scent of pine and wet earth wash over you. The night garden has offered its gift. You turn and walk back across the gravel path toward the gentle light spilling from the conservatory. The silence of the manor is about to give way to a quiet, final revelation. The closing of a circle that has been waiting patiently for over 100 years. You are ready to go home inside. You step back inside from the cool, damp embrace of the night garden, leaving the steady rhythm of the creek, and the silence of the willows behind. The glass doors slide quietly shut, and you find yourself once more in the soothing warmth of the manor's interior. The small, cool weight of the bronze key rests in your pocket, a tangible connection to the past, grounding you in the present moment. You bypass the library, knowing the answers do not lie in the letters themselves, but in what they were meant to safeguard. The memory of the woman in the portrait, Eleanor, and her tender gesture towards the locket guides your steps back towards the heart of the house. You return to the grand foyer. The towering grandfather clock continues its slow, hypnotic work. Tick, tock. It is the only sound that truly pervades the manor, a soothing, consistent beat that seems to measure the flow of history itself. The soft, ambient light from the foyer lamp is constant, casting long, familiar shadows across the polished floorboards. You stop near the base of the sweeping staircase, your gaze drawn to the floor. The heavy, dark wood gleams under a century of polish, laid in wide, straight planks. You recall the letters, the locket, the rose, and the key. What small, cherished treasure could Eleanor have hidden, needing such a precise, quiet means of protection? You kneel slowly, letting the scent of old beeswax and dry lavender rise around you. Your fingers trace the narrow lines where the floorboards meet, feeling the subtle irregularities of the wood. The quiet of the house is absolute now, holding its breath in anticipation. You start where the floorboards meet the lowest step of the staircase, a transitional space often overlooked. Your fingers move carefully, running across the grooves and knots of the mahogany. And then you find it. It is a seam, slightly wider than the others, leading to a small, nearly invisible outline, a perfect square cut into the flooring. It is covered by a thin layer of dust and polish, expertly concealed by the original builder. The outline is perhaps 6 inches by 6 inches, just large enough to hold something small and precious. You pull the key from your pocket. The cold bronze is now warm from the heat of your hand. You examine the square outline again, noticing a small, almost undetectable pinhole near one corner of the square. It is the keyhole. You insert the key slowly. It slides in smoothly, fitting the ancient lock with an exquisite, satisfying precision. There is no grinding, no resistance, only the soft sound of metal meeting metal. You turn the key just a quarter turn, and you hear a faint, soft click, the sound of a lock being released after decades of patient waiting. With the tip of the key, you gently pry up the small square section of floorboard. It lifts easily, hinged on the far side, revealing a hollow space beneath. The air that rises from the darkness is cool and still, carrying a faint, musty scent of enclosed velvet. You peer into the opening. Resting alone in the dark, velvet-lined cavity is a small, polished wooden box. It is smaller and flatter than the cedar box that held the letters, made of a rich, dark burl wood, perhaps rosewood, and finished with a faint, smooth sheen. You lift the box out of its secret recess. It is heavier than expected and cold to the touch. You gently lower the trapdoor back into place. The floorboards meet again seamlessly, concealing the secret once more. You set the bronze key beside the grandfather clock, its job finally done. You turn your attention to the rosewood box. There is no lock on this box, only a very simple latch. You unhook it slowly, letting the small metal latch fall against the wood with a quiet, melodic tink. You lift the lid. Inside, resting on soft, faded blue velvet, are two items. The first is a small folded piece of paper, a single final note written on paper that is distinct from the brittle parchment of the letters. It is newer, fresher, and written in a hand that is firm, steady, and definitively not Eleanor's. The second item, nestled beside the note, is the actual silver locket from the portrait. It is even more beautiful up close, delicate, tarnished with the passage of time, but gleaming softly in the lamplight. It is slightly larger than it appeared in the painting, and heavier. You pick up the locket first. The silver is cold, heavy, and real. You gently examine the tiny clasp, finding the seam, and carefully, slowly opening the locket. Inside, on the left side, is a tiny, faded photograph of a handsome young man, Eleanor's dearest A. His eyes are bright, and his uniform suggests he was indeed a sea captain or naval officer. On the right side, there is not a matching photograph, but a lock of hair, a soft, faded brown. But beneath the hair, something is tucked into the velvet lining. It is a minuscule piece of paper, folded into a tight square, containing a single, brief inscription written in the same hand as the locket's owner, Eleanor. He waited. I wait. The circle closes where the creek flows home. You set the locket down gently and turn to the final folded note in the rosewood box. You open it with care. This is the letter that Eleanor never received, the final answer to her long, devoted wait. The note is short, dated almost a year after the last unfinished letter, and signed simply, Alexander. My dearest Eleanor, I returned to Willow Creek only hours after you were laid to rest beneath the willow trees. The manor was silent, but your love was not. The key to our shared secret was placed in the earth, and the locket of our promise now rests with your words where I found them. Know that I waited too, my love, until the sea refused to hold me any longer. I leave this final piece with you. The waiting is over. Rest now. Forever yours, A. The revelation is soft, bittersweet, and profoundly comforting. Alexander, dearest A, returned. He found her gone, understood her pain, and closed the circle himself. The silence of the manor was not due to abandonment, but due to a love so enduring that it paused time itself, waiting for both halves of the promise to be honored. The quiet tragedy was only a separation in time, not devotion. You carefully refold the final note and place it, along with the locket, back into the rosewood box. The circle is complete. Eleanor's story is finished, and it is a story of enduring, faithful love. You close the lid of the rosewood box. The latch snaps shut with a soft, final click. A deep, palpable sense of peace floods the ground foyer. The silence here is magnetic. It draws you inward, away from the surface of your mind, toward a quiet, restful depth. You are floating on the stillness of the manor, held safe by the thick walls and the history of quiet devotion. If any small thought tries to surface, a memory, a task, a fleeting worry, acknowledge it gently, then let it drift away, like one of the dust motes dancing in the faint residual light. You can return to it tomorrow. Tonight is for rest. You sink deeper into the mattress. You are safe. You are warm. You are utterly, wonderfully still. The night is long, and the peace of Willow Creek is absolute. Let the final sounds of the manor guide you now. The distant, slow hush of the wind through the willow branches, the soft weight of the heavy blankets, and the profound, complete silence that settles over everything. Drift down, deeper and heavier, toward the beautiful, dreamless depth of sleep. The manor has kept its promise. You are home.